Thanks, babe. I was on mute the whole time. Okay. Anyway, let's start over. Thank God for my husband who's watching because he left the comment. Um, so before I bring my guest on, I wanted to remind everyone that my latest book release, You Love, You Learn, is available on my website. It's on Amazon, it's on Barnes and Nobles, and all major book retailers. So, my guest, she's a spiritual life coach. We do similar things. She helps women, she teaches women about self care and self love and spiritual growth. She is a certified spiritual life coach. So I just wanted to bring on Kelly Jones. How are you
Hello.
today, Kelly?
I'm awesome. Thank you for having me here. I'm so honored to be here with you all. Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. I had a little snafu there at the beginning. You saw.
Yeah, I was trying to get your attention and you're like, "Eh, it's all good."
Oh, okay. That's what you were doing. Now, see, I have to keep that in mind. And people are pointing to the ear, like, I can't hear you. Yes. So, how are you doing today, Kelly?
I'm doing awesome. Wonderful. Yeah, I'm
Good.
blessed and thankful. I'm glad to be here and be able to talk about what we love to do.
Yeah. So, tell us about what you do and how you do it.
Oh, let's see. Well, definitely was divine intervention because if you would have probably talked to me about like 5 or 6 years ago, I would have never thought I would be on this path.
Me too.
Yeah. So it kind of started really, I guess it was started when I was a child. Like I always had these gifts, but I didn't really know what to do with them. And, was told to, turn them off, don't tell anybody. So, as we grow, we forget about them. But people always love to talk to me and tell me what's going on in their life and seek advice. And I would have this advice to give them. And I'm like, well, I can't give this own advice to myself. Right.
Right. Yes.
So then like years later, I just went through like a really bad time in my life where I was going through it. I was in like messed up relationship after messed up relationship, didn't
Hmm.
have any self-care, self-love, or self-worth, really was not taught that, and I noticed it was happening in my children. They were going through their own issues. My son, who deals with anxiety and depression, he's also like high functioning autistic. And then I also have my other son, he has like behavioral issues as well. And both of them were going through it at the same time. And it was just a hot mess.
That
But I
was
was,
a power moment, right?
yeah, definitely a tower moment. I was really like going through my own transformation too at that time. Like I had lost over 150 pounds because I
Hmm.
was just like, I was ready, started to do the work, but I just didn't know what the work was, right? But I just knew I needed that change. Um, and dealing with got out of the bad relationship and really just concentrated on myself and trying to work on healing me so that I can help my children. And
Right.
so within this, I had what they called a Kundalini experience, which I did not know what that was at the time. But literally, I was saging my home, and all of a sudden, I just broke down with this immense love just came upon me, and just was
Hmm.
rolling through my spine like waves. That's the only way I can describe it. And it just broke me down in tears, and I didn't never experience anything like that in my life. And I was like, "What is this?"
Right.
And soon after that, like all these other things started happening to me where I was astroplaning at night, and I was able to like people's loved ones were talking to me, and I'm like, I'm sorry, you don't know me, but I have a message from your loved one. I'm like, I don't know where's this coming. I'm like really super. I was always sensitive. People say, "Oh, you're
Yes.
so sensitive," but not knowing that I was empathic and it was a gift. I just think it was a
Yes.
curse. And I'm like, wow, I'm picking up people's energy really strong. So
Hmm.
that was like how I started. But I had to really was in it by myself and having to really learn what is this and how do I utilize it, and how I knew it was a gift. I looked at it as a gift, so I was like, okay, I just had to learn how to work with it.
Yeah.
And I grew up in religion, but I knew, like, I thought, well, I'll see if there's another religion, like spiritual religion, that because that's what the mindset,
Because
because you're
this one is
thinking,
kind of hard, right? Because
yeah, like,
it's weird.
Yeah. And so I was like, I started like looking at like Buddhism and like Buddhism, and I was just like, you know what, no, I'm just gonna take what resonates with me. So I'm just like, the universe is vast, so am I. And I just started like really doing the work, and then I started utilizing the tarot to help me really clarify and confirm the messages that I was receiving, that I was channeling. And
Because
so
at first, when you got your cards, I know for me, when I first got my first deck of cards, they weren't tarot cards.
they're
They
oracle.
I got an oracle card.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, an oracle deck first,
Mm-hmm.
and because I felt like I was getting messages and I was getting all the feels and the head to toe and the ear popping and all. I was so itchy. Do you remember that, being very itchy?
Yeah. I just really feel like I'm in like out of
So
my
weird.
skin.
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
but then the oracle cards really helped me, like you said, to kind of put things in perspective and heal. And I was like, I, at first I didn't believe it, because I would shuffle the deck and ask a question, and the card that I would get would be spot on to what I was going through at the moment. And I was like, is this shit for real? Like,
Mhm.
really happening? Because I'm usually the one that goes and gets readings, right?
Mhm.
Anyway, so go ahead. What
Yeah,
we
but I also started with Oracle deck, but it's so
yeah.
crazy. I don't know if you know this. Like, I have my same Oracle decks that I started with because I just love them. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, between decks and crystals, I'm a sucker. But like now, when I read those decks, I get different meanings from when it was when I
Yeah.
first got received or started reading my oracles. But then I actually self-taught myself tarot because I just wanted like a deeper inner standing. I say inner standing instead of understanding. I need a deeper inner standing of
Mm-hmm.
what this meant. Because the message, I'm like, okay, what does that mean? You know what I mean? So, yeah, and this tarot just became like, really helped me really go within and really learn how to trust and tap into my intuition. So then I just started doing it for like friends and family. I
Mm-hmm.
would do readings for, and then all of a sudden, like, I kept getting waken up in the middle of the night, like right when like COVID was happening. Well, right before COVID, Spirit had me watching near-death experience stuff, learning about energy and how it works. And I'm like, why am I into all this like near-death experience? And
Yeah.
3 months later, COVID. I'm like, oh, okay. So
Mm-hmm.
then I was kept getting waking up in the middle of the night, like 3 o'clock in the morning, all the time. Like, what? And they're like, you have to share this. You have to share. And so I'm like, oh my gosh. So then I ended up,
How did you get that message? Did you hear it? Did you feel it? Did you just know it? That
it
you
was
have.
kind of like a combination of all, because they were like really on me. All I can just say was Spirit was on me so tough, and I kept trying to ignore it. And they just find another way to tell me, you know what I mean? Like, you need to do this. You need to put it out there. You need to help others. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, okay, I'm going to do it. So then I think I first created, did I first create a YouTube? I think I might have first started on YouTube. And then from there, I created a group on Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, well, you know what? If I just reach a couple of people, then that's fine, if I'm able to help. And then from there, it just started growing. And then this past January, I kicked off my first 8-week transformation program.
Yes.
So yeah,
That's
which is
wonderful.
super exciting.
So you have a group of women who, is it a group coaching or individual one-on-one?
It's I offer both, but mainly I like to stick, I like the group coaching because I'm like a coach who always has a coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, I totally believe in like always, continuing to work or in some program, just always learning. Like right now I'm in a sacred geometry and Metatron course for 4 weeks. So, but
Wow,
yeah,
that sounds interesting. You gotta
yeah,
tell me
it just
about that.
started last night. Yeah,
Oh
it's
my
pretty interesting.
God, because Metatron is one of my favorite archangels. But go ahead, go ahead, go
Is it? Oh my gosh, I wish I would have known that, because I sure would have put you on it.
ahead.
I'll put you on it later because they have all kind of stuff that they do.
Okay.
But yeah, so like I was like, okay, so I started like just doing readings, like doing like the monthly readings, and then like I think one of my major videos I did was on COVID. It really was on COVID. And I was like, okay, I got to talk about it. And Spirit has a way of always working through me where like I go through it and then learn the lesson,
Yeah.
and then everyone else goes through it.
Yeah, then yeah. And then you kind of like, spread the message out to everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because a lot of times I have dreams where I feel like I'm tapping into the collective consciousness, and
Mm.
it will happen like on a real large. What happened in the dream will happen on a really large scale.
For sure. Most
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know I definitely travel and do my work and when I'm sleeping. That's why I be all the
Do,
time. I'm not worried about
sometimes
it. I'll
do
do
you
that at
find
night.
sometimes you find that when you wake up,
Mhm.
you are exhausted, even though you slept the whole night, right? And you wake up and you're like, oh my God, like you was working, like you were shoveling
Mhm.
snow in your sleep.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm the first time I ever astroplaned that I remember
Yeah.
vividly. Um like I did it when I was a kid, but but that was kind
Mhm.
of, you don't think as your imagination, but I literally was like, I was working like a late shift, and this is when I was doing my 9 to 5, and I came home and my kids were all at my mom's, and I was the only one in the house, and I laid in the bed, and that time between where you're like falling asleep, but you're not asleep, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and my whole body literally felt like somebody was lifting me up, and
Hmm.
it scared the death out of me. And I was like, whoa, what's going on? I opened my eyes. I'm like, okay, I'm in my body. I'm okay. And
Hmm.
so I went back to sleep, tried to go back. And then now it happened again.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, instead of getting scared, I seen this purple, like misty veil. And
Hmm.
behind it was this beautiful face. It's very friendly and inviting, and didn't speak words, but told me subconsciously, like, you know what? I got you. You're okay.
Hmm.
And then from there, I don't even remember what happened, but I know I woke up that morning literally feeling like I like slammed into my body. Like
Right.
everything hurt. And I was like, whoa, what happened last night?
Yeah, it can be that way. I mean, this when you're having like when you're awakening and stuff like that, and you're developing gifts and all of these things happen, there's a lot of inner work, right, that goes
Mm,
along with this awakening process and this ascension process. What would you feel like, and that's called shadow work for
mhm.
those of who are watching who don't know, what was, some of the inner work that you did to get, that you needed, that you felt like you needed to clear out in
Mm.
order to raise your vibration and be where you're at right now?
Well, I think the biggest aha moment, because when I lost my weight, like I didn't want to gain that back, and I knew it was all mental, right?
Was that weight loss intentional, or did it
Yes,
just
it was
okay?
intentional, very much so. Um, and I didn't want to, so I took like a group, like course, like class, and I forgot what it was called, but one of like the biggest thing, and it was like a really aha moment for me when it was like, your thoughts are not your truth. And I'm like, yeah, why do my thoughts have to be my truth?
Right.
Because I knew at that time I was one of those people who was always in my head about
Yeah,
stuff, to the
yeah,
point where I'm a manifester. So I'm literally like, I don't know if you're familiar with like the body graphs and stuff. So
yeah.
I'm a manifester generator. So I literally manifest. So it's like whatever I think is what comes. So if I'm thinking
Mhm.
terrible things are happening, then
Mhm.
yeah, terrible things are going to happen. And that was like a really big, and I was like, you know what? I have to start really figuring out how to heal myself. And
Mhm.
so spirit just had me like really going towards a lot of like I just read so many books. Like I was just like I couldn't get enough. I was just wanted more and more. It's like a sponge. A book that really resonated with me was The Three Magic Words by oh God, what's his name? Yule. I think his name is Yule something, but yeah, it's called The Three Magic Words. And
Okay.
when I like, well, I like to do my audio books because I be doing stuff. So when I listened to that, I was like, whoa, like
Mhm.
it put like so much in perspective. And so it started making me think, and I just was like, I got to do better. So like, I think I probably started like everyone else, like doing like affirmations
Mhm.
and really creating rituals behind it. like as far as like looking myself in the mirror and like in all my glory and really appreciating myself.
The mirror
For
work, right? I've
say
done that.
my
The mirror
mirror work.
work. Yeah, I've done
Yes, most
that.
definitely mirror work. Making sure that I'm doing it with conviction, right? And intention, and just getting into meditation and
Mhm.
learning how to utilize binaural beats. And then it was like, okay, so all this stuff that I learned, and I just started doing the inner child work because I knew, like, my inner child needed healing. So what I started off doing was really visualizing myself at every age, like my 5-year-old self, my 8, my 10, my 14, 20, 30
Mhm.
something self, and really was like loving on her and being like, what do you need? And just letting her feel comfortable to come up and say what she needed. And so from that point, I was like, okay, well, now that I'm loving on her, I'm doing this work. Now it's like, okay, I got to let these things go. Then I had to figure out, how do I release these things? And,
Right.
and that, I think that's one of the hardest things between releasing and learning how to forgive. And
Yeah.
not even forgiving for others, is forgiving yourself, because
Yeah.
we're so hard on ourselves for things that we didn't know any better than what we were taught to
Yeah.
know. And that's no
Exactly.
fault of our parents either.
Because they did the best that they could too. People could only teach you at the consciousness where they are at. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
if they're not, yeah, they did their best. And
Mhm.
people our age we're not taught to, you know, move from our hearts.
Right. Or where it wasn't taught, we've been taught, and this is for everyone. Everyone's been taught to look outside themselves for
Yes,
everything.
yes, look outside yourself for
Right.
guidance.
Validation, empowerment, love, acceptance, right?
Yeah.
And so, and even, through society, generational cycles, media, even religion.
Yeah. Because
And
but when you think about it, Kelly,
Mhm.
this society is not set up for self-love and stuff.
Mm.
It's not. And that's the
Mhm.
whole game of incarnating here, right? Is being
Mhm.
able to transcend that and really
Right.
find yourself, find your center, find your heart center, and move from love regardless of the external bullshit that's going on around you. That's the whole point.
True. Right. And so it's up to us, because, we went through this, and I know that's why I wanted to do this and help so many women, because like,
Mhm.
we are the backbones. We are the backbones of the family. We,
Mhm.
without us, nothing runs smooth. So
Right,
it's so important for us to make sure that we're really truly caring for ourselves and loving on ourselves, because
right.
that's how we heal ourselves. How many women do we speak to every day who are constantly giving of themselves, but are
Mhm.
never receiving,
Exactly.
you know? Because we've been taught not to take. We've been taught when we were little, like, what, when you go over so and so house, don't go asking them for nothing. And if they offer you something, you tell them no, because we're humble. So then what do? We become grown women, and
Yeah.
then we don't want to ask. Oh, like, no, I'm good. Thank you. Oh, no, 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 no. And what does that tell the universe? Because I'm totally about the the law, and
Yeah.
it's so important that we understand how energy works and how the laws work, because, like, we get what we put out. And that's
Mhm.
how the universe works. The universe loves us and only gives us what we ask for. So if you're telling the universe you want to keep giving, then you're going to keep giving time, money, effort, love,
Right,
you
right.
know? So,
And I feel like a lot like right now at this
Mhm.
time in society, the self-love mindset, the self-care practices, a lot I feel like a lot of it might be people take advantage of it and have made it a little commercialized, and not
Mhm.
really don't really know what it really is a lot of time. What do you think about that?
I totally agree with you, because now it's become kind of generic. We talk
Yes.
about, oh, I'm
When
going
you
to do some
start
self
talking about
care.
it, people are like,
Right.
I get my nails done.
Yeah.
Get my feet done and stuff. I do my self-care, but it's deeper, right?
Yeah. I call it unapologetic, authentic, learning your truth,
Mm-hmm.
because it's about peeling back those layers. And you ask people, like, who are you? And they'll be like, oh, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, You know what I mean? I'm whatever, I'm a professional businesswoman. You know what I mean? But who
Mm-hmm.
are you
Right.
at your core and your soul?
Yep.
And that's what I do. I help you. Let's peel back those layers and see who you really are. Because
And
as
that's
long
that
as,
shadow work.
yeah.
That's that necessary shadow work. For me, I know
Mhm.
at the beginning of my journey, I was hell bent on finding my life's purpose, because
Mhm.
I knew, and I always knew that there was more. Even as a teenager, I always knew that there was more for me, but I
Mhm.
just didn't know how, or
Mhm.
how to go about it, or what to, you know what
Mhm.
I mean? I knew I liked,
Mhm.
so I always kept a journal.
Yeah.
And I always like, one thing about me is I always like to people watch. And now in
Mhm.
hindsight, I realized that I would used to be on the train into like picking people out and just running down their whole life just by the way they looked. I had no idea. And for me, I was making it up.
Mm.
It could have been true, you know what I mean? Because that's what I used to do all the time, is intuit on people on the
Mm.
train, in the city, on my lunch hour. And now I realize that I was reading them
Mhm.
and didn't even know it, right? Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy? Isn't that crazy how those little breadcrumbs are so,
Mm.
are even way back when we were unaware of ourselves, but they still were there.
Yes.
Weird.
I remember a time when because my 20s were wild, honey. I was a hot mess. Look, I'm writing my book now. I'm on my sixth chapter. I'm in my 20s. I'm
Do
like,
it.
"Ooh, how am I gonna get through these 20s?"
Do it. Do
Um,
it.
yeah, I'm on it. So, but yeah, like I remember a time when actually this was in my 30s. I didn't have my oldest until I was like 30, 31. But I
Mm.
remember like all my friends coming up were all like drug dealers and users and everything else. And one day we were in the room and we were like getting high like we did, partying, and
Mhm.
it was like the room froze. And it was spirit just came to me and was like, you know what? You're pregnant and you're about to change your life. And I said, okay, if I'm pregnant, then I'm absolutely changing my life. And
Mhm.
then it was like everything went back to normal. And I'll never forget that because the next thing I know, I found out I was pregnant and I was like, okay, that really happened. And I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. And I did. I just literally like picked up, I left all my friends, my whole life that I had at that time. And I picked up and I just moved on. And I had to, because I had to do, that was that pact that I had made with spirit. But in that time, I wouldn't. I just was like, oh, that was just some weird stuff that happened to me.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. So
Yes.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah, there were a lot of, if I can think back to a lot of weird things that happened to me in the past when I was just unaware, and I just would chalk it up to, oh, that was just some crazy shit. Oh, that shit was hell. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and just move on. And me and my friends would laugh about stuff, but even stuff that happened to my friends too. I now today we are like, yo, that was God. That was spirit. That was
Mm-hmm.
divinely guided
Yes.
that happened.
Yes. Because I know it's probably been plenty of times I could have probably not made it home.
Okay.
Yeah, for
Yes.
sure. Because I was lost, but you know what? I needed to go through that. And I now realize is that I went through, I don't know if anybody out here knows about astrology. So
Mhm.
Pluto is in my 12th house.
Okay.
So with that being said, I go through a lot of death and rebirth.
Mm.
And it's like I had to go through really terrible things in my life, from child abuse to rape. My first encounter when I was with sex was through rape. That's how I lost my virginity. And just all these things that had accumulated in my life was all happened to bring me to this point now. So I can say, you know what? I've been there.
Right.
I've done that. That happened to me. And just like, you can come out of this too. You can grow. You can do, what I'm saying? You can tap in and learn how to truly love yourself and have that freedom. Like, this is the thing I want to tell everyone out there. Like, there's nothing like the freedom of being able to not care what other people or things or what people say or think or things that are happening outside of
Yeah.
yourself.
Yeah. That's a different type of freedom. That
Yeah.
is a different type of freedom when you don't care about what nobody thinks, then it's like the seas part for you.
Mm-hmm.
You're like,
Yeah.
and everything looks different. You know what was another thing, like that feeling like I didn't care about what people thought about me, and also when I learned about reincarnation. Because
Mm.
when I learned about the soul evolution and reincarnation, it's like I already knew it already. You know, it
Mm-hmm.
resonated so deeply. So it was like a
Mm.
remembrance.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Mm-hmm.
like, so yes, this is what it is. And when you really accept and really believe in reincarnation and this and the evolution of the soul, you look at things differently. You look at
Mm-hmm.
the things that you've gone through and that other people have gone through differently because you realize that that is just your experience that you have to through right now.
Mm-hmm. And it's
You
all
know,
based on perception.
yes, and
Well,
it's
now
all based on
I'm like,
perception.
challenges are opportunities for growth. That's a gift,
Right,
you
right.
know?
But a lot of people won't,
No.
they just won't listen. Like, and I don't like to impose
Right. It's not their time.
that. Yes, exactly. I don't like to impose that. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to beat anybody over the head with it. But once you realize that, like shit just changed. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you're able to separate yourself from what's happening from, your emotions.
But you know what's so crazy, Martine? Because I grew up, like Episcopalian, then we were
Mhm.
Baptist coming up. But I always believed in reincarnation, which is so crazy because people be like, how can you be a Christian and believe in reincarnation? And I'm like, I don't know. I just do.
Ew.
I just do. I've been here before. I knew I've been
Right.
here before
Yes.
because I knew it because I have had past life regression stuff.
Mhm.
And I was like, how do I know that? Why am I so? You ever find yourself drawn to certain things? Like,
Yes.
um, for instance, like being, I would say, a young age, always drawn to Egyptian stuff. I always wanted to know about the pharaohs and that. I always wanted to
Which
know
is ended,
about
right?
Greek mythology.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like I was always into that. I loved history because I was like, it's storytelling. But I didn't know where all that came from. I knew, but what I'm saying? I didn't connect the dots. But now I know, like, yeah, we choose to come here during this time to do this work. And some of us forget that we came to do this work and we're like, we don't want to do the work. And so it's like, but we have to have both. And
Yeah.
I have people that get so upset and like, oh, with things that are going in the world and how are these things happening? And what people don't realize is that everything has to come to surface. Just like a volcano, you know what I mean? Like it
Mhm.
sits and it festers for a while, and you know what I mean? And then it has to explode.
Yeah.
Things have to come out. And this is just how, the only way that people are going to be able to really take notice of it if it has to hit you hard,
Mhm.
with everything that's going on in the world. And I'm like, if you're getting, people get so upset about it. And I'm like, that's to me, and I don't know, I may be wrong, but for me, I feel like that's an excuse because why are you letting something outside of yourself upset you so much? But if each one of us went within and loved ourselves and did the work,
Yep.
then we would know how to love everyone else. Then we show up. Then when I started truly loving myself, you know how different I show up with people. I look forward to meeting my people in the grocery store because when we gonna vibe with who we vibe with. So I'm
Yeah.
coming, hey, Rich Rising, hey, Grand
Mhm.
Rising. You know what I'm saying? Like, hey,
Yes.
you
Yep.
know.
I know what you
So
mean.
I love people more
Yeah.
now than I love myself. You know what I mean? Because I could say all day, yeah, I love myself, but no, I didn't. I didn't love myself. I thought I did, but
Yes.
I didn't.
We did when people say, "Oh, perfect example." Before this was about maybe 3 years ago when I had, major tower moment after tower moment with
Mm,
my awakening was like my shake up to wake up. I had a
mm,
reading from a medium and he kept saying to me, you got to love yourself more, girl. You got to love yourself. this is my first time ever getting a reading from him. So I was like, I do love myself. What are you talking about? And I had an attitude inside. You know, I had an attitude. I was like, what is he talking about? I do love
Yeah, and
myself.
I'm fly, get my hair done. I got my sharp outfit on. What you talking about?
What is he talking about? But then I learned, boy, I learned and I remembered. And I was like, oh, and now I'm like, that's what the hell he was talking about. Like, and after things like transpired and I started, you know, really learning and actually doing the inner work and a whole bunch of shadow work and
Mm-hmm.
visitations in my dream, past life situations in my dreams, I was like, oh, okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
Martine, I'm gonna be honest with you. I just probably recently really got a handle on my triggers and my shadow work because,
I
like,
think it's ongoing. Don't you
yeah, of
think?
course, it's always ongoing. But you know what? I think before that, like, okay, I'm like, oh crap, here comes the shadow. Okay, here comes a trigger. All right,
Yeah.
what are we gonna deal with now? Okay, let me prepare myself for it. But now I've learned to, since we had that last full moon, especially in Virgo, I've learned to embrace my shadow because
How
it's
to
still
do
a
that?
part of me.
Tell me how to do that.
Yes, you know what? And then once I
Avoid her sometimes, but it's just hard because sometimes she's just like,
Mhm. Yeah. And see what it is that this is what I did. And this is when spirit made me pay attention because, and I'm sure you can probably, most of us can relate to this. So when those things come up, those triggers, those things about, and it was really kind of bothering me around my business, right? Because I'm like, I have this great thing I'm doing. I'm trying to transform people's lives. Why aren't they wanting to transform their lives?
right,
Why don't they want more? And why do I feel so bad about asking them for money? And what's my hang up with money? What's my limited beliefs? I got to peel all that back. Okay, yes, I know my limited beliefs. I used to think I was meant to struggle. And I'm like, no, life is meant to be enjoyed. I'm like, I got that. But then that thing, and like it was creeping up on me because you know how they do. The triggers want to say, okay, life is like, are you sure you're over this? Are you sure? Let's
yeah.
see. And then it'll come up.
You're stuck on stupid.
Yeah. And then what do we want to do? We want to like tuck it back. Like, I don't want to deal with that right now. I ain't got time for this. I'm trying to take care of this. I'm trying to be over here doing this. I'm trying to do that. And then we try to tuck it. And then what happens? It keeps coming back up. And then one day it's like that tower and you have no choice.
Yeah.
So what I've learned, I say, you know what? This is a part of me. Just like the light is a part of me. So is the shadow. And I may not like this aspect of me, but I have to love it because she is me.
I've come across a lot of like other spiritual people or I don't know, teachers or gurus who always talk about transcending your shadow. And I think that's not right. Like we need the dark and the light parts of ourselves. Like it's all
It's
about
a balance.
yeah. And I who can be positive and love and light all the time? That's like toxic positivity. That's a thing. Like when you're always positive, like beating people over the head with it, like that's not normal either. You know what I mean? Sometimes people have their bad days and you just feel yourself through it, let the emotions come in and let it go and move on and then go back.
And that's the part.
Yeah.
Letting it go. And see, that's what people give a hard time with because we've been taught through these so-called, laws that we've been all governed by that, to really be our own judge and victim. So what do? We beat ourselves up about mistakes that we did like 2 years ago. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't believe because it's all about the duality. It's all about the balance.
Exactly.
And balancing everything, like our light, our shadow, our divine feminine, our divine masculine, right?
That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah, it's all, but it's really all about balance because even with this last Pisces new moon, it was a lot. I don't know, a lot of people were like this. It was like a roller coaster like this. It was like highs and lows. And what I was on a really good high that day. And I'm like, oh, I want to plant. Cause I had noticed like I've been really putting myself in my work. And Spirit was like, you're neglecting your family. You know what I mean? Like, because you want to succeed and you want to, be able to, you want to provide and you want to make everyone's dreams come true, right? But in the same time, they need you now. And that's why it's so important for us to stay present in the now and not getting caught up in what's going to happen. Because what do? We end up neglecting the ones that are dearest to us, who are with us right here.
Right now,
yeah. So I was like, oh, let's go to a crystal shop and tell my man, and he's like, first he said yeah, and then he came back like, no, we're not gonna go. He's like, I'm busy doing my thing. In a couple of months, when I wanted you to go with me to the crystal shop, you were too busy, and I wanted to spend time with you. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, deflate me. And I was like, oh man, you're right. And because I thought, oh, we can go anytime, but he just really was wanting to just be with me. Right. And so here we come full circle, the same thing, because it's always that figure eight, that yin and yang, Yes. And I was like,
right back to you.
And I was like, yeah, like I get it. And so I had to create that balance. I said, okay, you know what? And as soon as I started balancing out my personal, because I believe in the big threes, balance the personal, the professional, and the spiritual. Okay. It's all about balancing that out, keeping those intact, doing your work. Because when you do your work, it affects all of that. So I was like, okay, well, we got to do something, because I want us to, even though we have our own journeys in life, we still need to be supporting and riding together. Like, we love each other, but I don't want to lose our intimacy and our togetherness, within the process. So we're like, so we decided to make an effort to make sure that we're both working on that. And making an effort to come out and play. Like, and that's work too. Instead of just always thinking we got to do the work and work, play. That's work. That's doing the work. Playing with your inner child. I'm doing karaoke with my kids. Like, yeah, like we have to do those things too. It's so important that we balance that out, that work and that play, because that helps us grow.
That's self-care. That's a self practice. That is definitely a self-care practice.
And boundaries.
Yes, boundaries.
How many times I'm like, women, please, we got to create some boundaries. Okay. We got to delegate. We got to ask for help when we need it.
Boundaries are hard. Boundaries are hard.
You got to stop saying that.
They are hard when you're used to kind of doing everything. They're hard. It's hard to ask for help. And it's hard because you want to do everything for your family.
And I get that, but you know what I don't like about that? Because we got to be mindful of what we say and what we think and what we perceive, right? Because if we say it's hard, then it's going to be hard.
Okay.
But if we say that, you know what, this is a work in progress, that's a totally different situation than just cutting it and saying, no, I can't do it. It's too hard. And that's the kind of things we have to get out of speaking, like saying, I'm trying, because now you're just telling the universe you're confused, or saying, I can't, I have to. Like, why do you have to? Like, you don't have to, right?
What would the more affirming words be then? If saying I'm trying is
I'm working on.
Okay.
I'm working on. But I always say fake it till you make it. I'm like, I am. I am creating these boundaries in my life. And how do you do that? You create that list and you literally put it right down the middle. Okay, what do I need? Right?
Words or spells.
Yeah. What do I need to create these boundaries in my life? Okay. Now this is what I need on this side. How am I gonna play it out? How am I gonna make it work? And a lot of times it's just asking, right?
Yes.
You're saying, hey, you know what? I need some space. You know what I'm saying? I love you much, but I just need some time. Like I tell my kids all the time, especially, your kids will get you all the time, be in the bathroom, which I'm like, look, these are my boundaries, okay? You got to respect this.
Yes.
So that's what we have to do. That's where the energy comes in, knowing those universal laws. Like the first 3 laws are immutable, which means we cannot change these laws. So this is from Kabbalicism. This goes back to ancient times.
What is one of them? Self-preservation?
So the first one is mentalism.
Okay.
You are what you think you are.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think it, you speak it, you are it. That's perception.
Mm-hmm.
The second one is the law of correspondence. So this means as, as above, as below, as within, as without.
Yes.
So knowing that you have to work with both, that's where that duality comes in. You have to have that balance, between what, if you're always like, oh, God, divine, help me, but then where's Mother Earth? Where's her connection to you? Because you're a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yes, don't
So
forget.
you still need to have that connection to the earth, because that's what keeps us grounded, and we need that grounding. I don't know if you're familiar with grounding, but grounding is okay. Yeah, wonderful.
I have to ground in order to, when I meditate, or when I'm, practicing, my mediumship and stuff like that. That's one of the things that you have to do, is ground. Yes.
Most definitely. I was saying the video that, they have a really good, I found it on YouTube. I think it's called Earthing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a really good video. So I don't know if anybody out there is interested in learning more about it. And it shows you like how it really can help you relieve inflammation out of your body just by going and sitting under a tree.
Yeah.
How children with
more of nature,
mm-hmm.
being stuck in the house and stuff. A lot of us, I know I need to be out in nature a lot more. That's why I can't wait for the springtime to go outside more and just walk the earth more.
So yeah, so that connection, like we had as what we put out is what we get back.
Yeah.
It's all based on reflection. It's all vibration. It's all frequency. Yeah. And people don't get it. And they're like, why is this happening to me? Well, because that's what you're putting out there. You are putting out a reflection of that, and you're getting back what you asked for, but no one thinks about it like that.
Question for you.
Mm-hmm.
For those who are prospective clients that may come to you and be like, I want to connect to my higher self. I want to, find my life's purpose. I just want to tune in. You know what I mean? What would you recommend someone to do for a few basic things for people to with themselves?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first I would say your purpose in life is to be happy. It's that simple. Mm-hmm. And how do you do that? It's so important to stay present in the now. Like that's everything. Because what happens is if we're too caught up too far in the future, thinking about how are we going to do this? How are we going to make this work? That creates that anxiety, worry, and fear. And know that fear is an illusion. And so, or we're too caught up in the past and we're thinking about, what could have happened, how I could have did that. And now we're stuck in the past and bringing that to the present. Mm-hmm. We have to learn how to be a friend of the unknown. And this was something that I had to learn. And once I learned it, I was like, woohoo, thank you. Because it's a game changer. And how do you do that? By doing what you love, whatever that is in that minute, whatever it is in that hour, whatever it is in that day. Do it because you love it. Not because you feel like you're obligated to it or you have to. When I had a job that, when I was doing, awakening, I'm in my process of learning, I had a job that at that time, no, I didn't particularly love it because I knew I was moving on to something else. But what I did was I would listen to my books while I was working. You know what I mean? So I always made time to make sure I feed my soul. That's what's important. Make sure you feed your soul, whatever that is. I don't care if it's watching, like one of my guilty pleasures. I like Jersey Shore Family Vacation. Them guys crack me up. Okay. So like when that come on a Thursday, like don't mess with me. Okay. Cause this is my raunchy TV for the day and I'm watching it. Okay.
We all got those.
And I don't feel guilty. And if I want a piece of cake, I don't feel bad about it, because what happens when we feel bad and we hold on to those things, then you're going to gain that pounds. But if you don't think about it and you do, and don't worry about it, keep it moving. So that's what I'm saying. Whatever you're doing, just stay present in the moment and just do it, one step at a time, 1 minute at a time, 1 day at a time, as long as you're moving forward and Now, as long as you're moving forward, that's
Mhm.
what's important. As long as you're not being stuck, as long as you're staying present in the now and just doing what you can within that day and doing your best without any judgment behind it and not having any expectations.
True.
So
True.
that is, I would say, one of the number one things that I would say. Another one is really connecting with, how do you connect with your intuition? It's that knowing, it's that gut feeling that we all have within us. How can we connect more to it? Because people don't really understand what intuition is and how it works.
Mhm.
So I would say there's no judgment, there's no fear, there's no worry. If it's emotional, it's not like, oh my God, emotion. It's like, whoa, it's happy emotion. It's like chills. It's like confirmation, like that kind of emotion.
Yes.
So that is your intuition, and it'll come to you. And it's always gonna be in a place from love, and it's always gonna have your best interest at heart. So I'm like, tap in and learn how to trust that. Do your sacral work, because your sacral is where your womb is. That's where your knowing comes from. No one told us how to give birth to any babies. That was something we knew.
Yeah.
That's where that comes from. That same area, that same connection is there.
What would you say to, because I know when I first started with my cards and, my spiritual gifts and such, I I felt like people were judging me, because now I was different. I was doing something different, something. I was raised in a Catholic church. So, Catholics, if you're a medium, if you're talking to spirits, then
You better be a prophet. Don't be thinking I had that happen to me. I had a friend that, like, we went to high school together, and I was like putting out my stuff, and she like came at me one day, was like, well, you know what? I belong to this church, and they teach you how to learn how to prophesize. And I think that would be really helpful for you. And I said, why do I need to learn that? Because what you're
exactly
doing
is that? What's the difference?
Nothing. What's the difference? Because the church says it's okay?
You're prophesizing. You're still getting messages.
You're still channeling.
Messages from. You're still channeling.
Yes. But
right?
They want to make it like it's like, a religion
like
thing.
You're getting it directly from God.
Well, it is still. It's all source. We're all.
I know, but is that what they're trying to say? There aren't any intermediaries out there.
I don't know, because I didn't get too far. She sent me the video. I watched some of it, and I was like, no. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate that. But you know what? I have my own path. Well, what you're doing is not God's work, and da 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 da. And I said, you know what? That's your opinion. That's your perception. But what I'm doing feels right to me.
Right.
Feels good to me. It brings me peace. It brings me joy. And that's okay. And I've had to.
All that matters at the end of the day. And that's how you can continue to raise your frequency, as long as you're doing things and moving from love and doing things that make you feel like you.
And step out on faith.
Yeah.
Like, people, please, like, we're so scared to step out, but that's the only way the universe is going to align with us, is until we step out and align with it.
Take those leaps.
Yeah, we got it. For the universe to show out, we got to show up first.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. You have to show up first, and then the universe will show up.
And I said, do what you love. Do what makes you happy. Don't worry about what people think, because it's when it comes down to it, it's not about you anyway. Right. They're judging you based on their own insecurity and their own fears that they're not willing to face within themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Period.
I definitely agree with that. So talk to me about your self-care kits, because I know you have those.
Yeah. I was going to have one to show you. I just actually sent some off. So behind me is like my whole my apothecary workstation. But so what I do is I make these kits in which I set in tensions in them for self-care and self-love, to be able to, for women, even men, it's fine, to create that ritual within that self-care ritual within themselves. So I hand make everything, and I use like all natural ingredients, flowers and herbs and essential oils, and I set intentions in them. So the spring ones I did for spring have like I did some candle magic for abundance, and I did a candle for love, and I did a candle for grace. And
Mhm.
then I make like whipped body butter, and you get all these things in there. So you get your candle, whichever one you choose, whipped body butter, which I make with frankincense and myrrh, which is
Yeah.
really good for like
That
inflammation,
sounds good.
protection. Yeah, protection, opening up your heart chakra. Um, I also make Himalayan bath salt, pink bath salt. So that's, and I put herbs and flowers and everything. So that's that, for you to have that, your spiritual bath
Hmm.
and really, relax. And I put like mint in there and all kinds of just lovely like flowers and petals in there. And soap, I make goat milk, shea butter, honey lemon balm from my garden. And I also put in there and essential oil roll-ons come with it. And I feel like what else? I feel like I'm missing something. You get a crystal, Palo Santo,
Nice.
for cleansing, and instructions on that. And I choose the crystal intuitively, just based on and then I give you a description of how it works for you and that.
Right.
So yeah, I think I got everything. Oh, I forgot. And then a high vibrational body spray comes in there too that I make.
Oh,
So it's
okay. That
either
sounds like
blessed or
a real,
grateful.
that's a well-rounded
Yeah.
spiritual self-care kit there. I
Hmm.
like
And affirmations come with it, mantras
that.
and
Nice.
instructions for those who, aren't used to doing the spiritual baths.
So if anybody wanted to get in contact with you, how would they do so if they wanted to utilize your coaching services or maybe join your program? Where?
Yeah. Well, you can always reach me through email. If you want to reach me about the 8-week transformation program that I have, you can reach me at www.thedivinetransformation.com. Or you can also reach me at divinelovetarot03@gmail.com. Yeah, and you just reach out to me. I'll send you a link so you can go. If you want a spiritual bath kit, you can go right in, order it, pick what you want in there. Thank you, love.
Mhm.
And you can, and then I'll send it to you the next day. So that's how I've been doing those. And yeah, just reach out to me. You can always message me, on Facebook, um, under my name, Kelly Jones, which is kind of, so many of us. But also I had Divine Love readings
Mhm.
in there as well. So that's like a free site. I also have a VIP membership site for those who want to go intensely and step it up the notch and and do the work, but may not have the means to go into the program yet. But it's okay because they work together. So a
Right.
lot of the women that are in the program are in there. The women that were already went through the program are in there, and those who are in transition into the program are in there.
Mhm.
So I drop a lot of jewels and knowledge. This week we're kind of talking about energy and how
Okay.
that works, because I feel like everybody really needs to have an understanding on that.
Yes.
So yeah, I have an 8-week transformation program starting up this week, and I actually for Women's Month and International Women's Day, I had cut my price in half. So I
Mhm.
say take advantage of that while you can. So yeah, just reach out for readings, spiritual kits, one-on-ones, most definitely.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds good, Kelly. Well, I really enjoyed our talk and our conversation. I'm basically on all things spiritual.
Yes,
Yes, and I definitely would like to have you back in the future if you'd like.
of course,
I
yes.
thank everyone for listening and watching tonight. This is Martine and Kelly Jones, and this is the Martine's Musings podcast. And I'll see you guys next Friday. Thank you, everyone, for watching. Take care.
Thank you for having me.